Hey, this is Jeff, aka Quiet Horn from quiethorn.com. Today I'm going to make some music that is not quiet. Check this out. Okay, so it sounds like bad heavy metal, but what it really is a trombone. So today I'm going to tell you some tips and tricks for how to make decent sounding bad heavy metal, if that's a thing, on trombone. So tip number 1, play in the right key. And by the right key, I mean play in the keys of like E or E flat or D. E or D, really. There are some reasons for that based on the way the guitar is tuned, based on which fingerings are easiest for power chords, stuff like that. But E or D is where most metal is going to happen. You're not going to play heavy metal in B flat. It's going to sound weird. Even if it's easier for you on trombone, it's just going to sound wrong because your ears are not used to hearing heavy metal in B flat, because no one ever does it, because it's not easy on guitar. So E or D. Now, with that comes a problem in that if you want to play in the same octave that guitar players are playing in when they play metal, you have to hang out on your lowest E, your E in 7th position, the E that no one wants to ever play. If you have a trigger, great. You can hang out on E and trigger in 1.5-ish weird position or whatever. You can also go down to D with your trigger. The problem with that still is, though, that you can't get like the nice short staccato kind of notes on your low trigger E and trigger D and stuff like that. I mean, you think you can, but you really can't. Even if you got a bass trombone, it's just not going to work. So play it an octave up and then pitch shift your sound down. So what I mean by that is, as you can hear, I'm playing this at third partial E in E in the staff. Okay, and then what I'm doing, let me grab my effects here. We turn off the ones I'm not using. So this is the regular sound. This is the sound as I've pitch shifted things around. You can actually hear it significantly quieter. But it doesn't matter, because later on we're going to just obliterate all of it anyway. So what I do with my pitch shifter is I leave the original signal in there a little bit. You can see here it's dropped by about 9 decibels. And then I have a 1 octave down shift. I also have the formant shifted down. That's the thing. If your pitch shifter has a formant shifter, cool. If not, don't worry about it. It'll change the tone a little bit. You can play with that. I also am pitch shifting down 2 octaves, just because I don't know why. It sounds cool. So anyway, pitch shifter is your friend there. And like I said, play up an octave. Don't try and play in the actual range that a guitar player plays in. You can if you want, actually. I mean, give it a shot. Maybe you can do it. Maybe I just suck, but try it. But what I found is easier to play an octave up. Another reason is, and this brings us to tip 3, another reason is because you're going to have to learn how to do multiphonic perfect fifths. So I don't know if you can hear, if your ears are tuned into this, but as I'm playing, for instance, E, I'm also singing B, and as I'm playing A, I'm singing C, and so on. Let's go over here to where I drop to D. So my multiphonics are not particularly strong, but they're strong enough to make a difference. The reason you have to do that is because metal guitar players, really any guitar player of any kind of rock and roll, is going to rely a lot on power chords. Power chords are where you play a note, you play a note a fifth above, and then you play, usually, optionally, another note an octave above the first note. So if you're playing E, you would, on trombone at least, you would be singing B, right? That's your fifth part. That's your power chord. And then with the pitch shifter in, pitch shifting things up and down, you add that extra octave up and down anyway. So you have nice fat power chords of octaves and fifths. But yeah, you need to learn how to do your multiphonics. So there's that. Third tip is about the effects themselves. When I first started doing quote unquote electric trombone, I was in high school, and it was fun and cool and stuff. And my obsession was to make the trombone sound distorted, because I thought electric guitar players just plug their guitars into a distortion pedal and voila, it all happens like magic. It's not true. What has more effect than the distortion pedals, or at least as much effect for sure, is the amp. Guitar players can talk about amps all day, forever. Which amps they like, which ones they don't, reasons why they do, reasons why they don't, how they've matched this head unit with this cabinet and it sounds better, blah blah blah. So amps are very important. If this is hardware, like you're playing with actual amps, there's a whole bunch of choices there. If you're playing in software, there are a lot of really good free ones. This one is by Blue Cat Audio. They have some free amp simulators. They have 3 different amp styles. This one's called Modern Drive, because modern, by modern we mean metal, I guess. So I'll play the difference with no amp, and then I'll turn the amp on, and you'll hear that, wow, this is really what you need to focus on. Right? This is just the pitch shift the sound with no amp, and here's the amp on. I should actually click this button too. I lied. This is the pitch shift the sound. Here's the amp on. Right. No amp. Cool. So the amp is very important. This amp itself, this free one, and all the other free ones will have a lot of presets. There's a whole bunch of different sounds you can get. This is just one kind of metal sound. I'll play around with some other ones afterwards. So get an amp sim. I'm not even using an actual distortion or overdrive or fuzz or any actual plugin for that. I'm just using the gain on the amp simulator itself, and that is way more than enough to sound really good, I think. There are definitely VST plugins and that kind of thing for distortion pedals, tube screamers, and Boss DS1 and all these fuzz pedals and stuff. But I found all you need is a really good amp simulator, which is what I'm using. So that's tip number, where are we, 4, 5? I don't know. The next tip, you can use a chorus. I'll turn this chorus on. This is called the Ozzifier chorus, probably because it's supposed to be used for vocals to simulate how Ozzy Osbourne has processed his vocals. I don't know. It's a chorus. So let's play with it off, and then I'll turn it on. It's off. Here's on. Off. Right, it's mono if it's off. Stereo if it's on. So chorus is a good thing to use. I don't like chorus because I can hear the chorusy sound and I don't like it, but it's kind of popular. It's meant to simulate, basically. It's meant to add like little, very micro. I almost said microtonal. Well, yeah, microtonal too, but microsecond delays and millisecond delays to make it sound like you have doubled or triple or quadruple tracked this part in the mixing process. What I like to do instead is take just a delay and turn on, use one tap panned hard left, one panned hard right, and you can see like the one on the left is 2.6 milliseconds, very small. The one on the right is 1.7 milliseconds. Those aren't like magic numbers. That's just what this thing scrolls to when you use your mouse wheel. So I'll play that, and you can hear the difference or how that sounds. So this is with it off. This is with it on. I like the sound better than the chorus, so I use it. Anyway, so those are the tips, really, to make really decent metal. Consider the range you're playing in, the key you're playing in. Going to be E, going to be D, or around there. E because that's where guitars are usually tuned in standard tuning. D because a lot of times they do what's called drop D tuning, where they drop their E string to a D, which makes power chords super easy. Sometimes they do E flat, stuff like that. Also learn how to hum your perfect fifths. You'll need that. Also play an octave up and just pitch shift down, or consider doing so. You don't have to, but I like to do that. This track I actually made with my P-bone because I don't have a small bore horn, and I find that it's easier just to push more air faster through a smaller horn. I mean, I do have a small bore horn. It's my P-bone, but I don't have like a real small bore horn. But also, if I wanted to play an octave or in the correct octave, right? I wouldn't be able to, because I can't get down to D without lip bending on a P bone, because there's no trigger. So anyway, all that is to say, consider playing an octave up. The other trick, of course, is to use an amp simulator. Focus more on finding a good sounding amp rather than just playing through a bunch of distortion pedals and stuff, because that's not going to get you the sound. And then also consider using either a chorus or some kind of stereo delay effect to fatten things up. So I'm going to let this thing play as we just listen to it and then fade out. By the way, sorry the drums are a little cheesy. It's just a loop I came up with.